All right, ladies and gents, there is no opening video today. Well, welcome to the Hodlnots weekly warm-up. This is the news at 9. I'm John.
I'm Vicky.
Let's get into some of the crypto headlines making headlines over the last couple of days.
Yes, let me just find those because I've lost them. So there we go. Okay, so Bitcoin leverage heats up as traders bet on price rebound. So traders are once again cranking up on leverage as Bitcoin is extending its sideways trend and broader crypto market risks persist. So as we can see, the top crypto has continued to trade between about 62 and 71 since February 6th, with really no meaningful breakout attempts. So investors are still piling in, increasing leverage and hoping for a breakout rally. So the aggregated funding rate data across major crypto exchanges shows an extreme surge in shorting positions. The current negative funding levels are also deepest since August 2024. So interesting, that period ultimately marked a significant Bitcoin bottom. So we'll see if that happens. So on the flip side, though, spot trading volume has collapsed to roughly 111 billion, down sharply from 300 billion during the sell-off. This collapse signals reactive participation, not the sustained high volume accumulation needed to break this range. So the market is absorbing sell-side pressure, but the lack of volume shows buyers are not stepping in aggressively to drive prices higher. So we're ranging with lots of people shorting and longing. We all know what happens then. So we're going to have to watch the market. And again, just see it and trade it.
Absolutely. So there is talk around whether the Bitcoin bottom is in. That story alluded to that, perhaps, and perhaps the excuse me, perhaps this next story might as well. So, is the Bitcoin bottom in at 60,000? Well, the answer might be in Tether's dominance chart. So as of February, Tether dominance reached the 8.5 to 9% range, revisiting a historically significant zone that previously aligned with Bitcoin's bear market lows. Now, when USDT, Tether, market shares rise, it usually means traders are playing it safe and parking most money in stablecoins instead of riskier coins like Bitcoin. Likewise, a rotation back into crypto usually aligns with USDT dominance falling. Now, this inverse relationship was especially clear in November of 2022, when USDT dominance peaked in the 8.5 to 9% zone as Bitcoin formed a multi-month bottom near good old $15,700. Now, as USDT dominance rolled over from that peak, Bitcoin climbed to above 31,000 by March of 2024, nearly doubling, while stablecoin dominance trended even lower. Now, a similar pattern repeated in 2023, 2024, when Bitcoin price gained nearly 200%, a year after USDT dominance topped out as well. Now, as a result, Bitcoin's odds of bottoming in the coming weeks may rise if USDT dominance does not exceed the 8.5 to 9% range. So again, lots of market metrics around there, but like we say, trade it and see it. Over to you.
100%. And one person who is not going to be trading whether it goes up or down is Ramil Ventura Pavlovx. And if you don't know who that is, he is the CEO who was sentenced to 20 years for a $200 million Bitcoin Ponzi scheme. So he's the CEO of Praetorian Group International, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for operating, like I said, a $200 million Bitcoin-based Ponzi scheme that defrauded over 90,000 investors worldwide. So Palafox pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering charges back in way back in September 16th, 2025, but he was just sentenced this week. So what happened was he falsely claimed PGI was engaged in Bitcoin trading and promised daily returns to investors, but in reality, payouts were funded using victims' deposits or money from new investors. Palafox spent millions on luxury cars, homes, and other extravagant items, and victims might be eligible for restitution. So the Praetorian Group International, which is PGI, which marketed itself as a cryptocurrency and foreign exchange trading firm, was a $200 million Ponzi scheme that operated from 2019 to October 2021. So unfortunately, we've heard a lot of those, but at least he has been brought to justice. And I really hope that at least, you get something back for the investors. Let's cross our fingers with that one.
Absolutely. Now, moving on from investors into perhaps you and I. Now, Elon Musk, we all know, X is to launch a smart cash tags application enabling in-app stock and crypto trading. Now, Elon Musk's social media platform X is preparing to roll out a feature that could transform the app from a discussion forum into a trading venue. Now, X plans to launch smart cash tags, allowing users to trade stocks and cryptocurrencies directly in posts. The feature advances Musk's vision of turning X into an all-in-one financial and social platform. It will roll out alongside X Money, a peer-to-peer payment system currently in beta testing. Now, they're launching a number of features in a couple of weeks, including smart cash tags that will enable you to trade stocks and crypto directly from your timeline. The feature, which was previously touted to launch in January, was shared via an image showing trading functionality embedded in posts, but the company had not yet confirmed the details at the time. That's pretty exciting. For those of you who tweet, you can now tweet and trade. There's an idea. Moving on.
I love the cash tags instead of hashtags. I think that's actually really clever. Cash tags. So yeah, and on to the next story. So obviously we had a little bit of a bromance happening back last year with Elon and Trump is in the news as well. It's kind of interesting timing. So here's Trump-backed World Liberty Finance, which is WLFI. They're expanding into the FX market with World Swap launch. So he's extending his decentralized finance operations into foreign exchange and cross-border payments with the planned launch of something called World Swap. So the Trump family linked venture outlined the new service as an FX and remittance platform designed to challenge incumbent providers on price and usability. The scale of opportunity is significant. Global FX markets recorded average daily turnover of US $9 trillion in April 2025, according to the Bank for International Settlements. So meanwhile, world personal remittances totaled 892 billion in 2024 based on World Bank figures. So that's also huge, actually, that he's actually entering the FX market. So not just crypto anymore.
Absolutely. Now, this is important. We're going over from the States to Europe, and there's been a lot of discussion with the Europeans around their need for their own sovereignty, right, over market leaders or market shapers like the US. Now, the European Parliament is throwing their support behind the digital euro. Right, we include in the story because it affects a lot, potentially affects a lot of our friends and our customers all over the world, especially in Europe. Now, the European Parliament threw its weight behind the European Central Bank's digital euro project in a vote that framed money and payments as a strategic asset in an era of rising geopolitical tensions. Now, lawmakers adopted the annual ECB report by 443 votes in favor of it, 71 against, and 117 abstentions, backing amendments that describe the digital euro as essential to strengthening European Union monetary sovereignty, reducing the fragmentation in retail payments and bolstering, the integrity of the single market. Now, this new text, this new bill, places growing emphasis on how public money in digital form can curb Europe's reliance on non-EU payment providers and private instruments. Now, the adopted resolution states that even as the ECB develops a digital euro, cash should still retain an important role in the euro area economy, and both physical and digital assets will be legal tender. Now, the parliamentary backing comes amid a broader push by central bankers and economists to frame the digital euro as a public good and a geopolitical hedge. Now, if legislation is adopted in the course of this year, A pilot project could start in 2027, and the Euro system, the monetary authority of the Euro area, would be ready for a potential first issuance around 2029. So still in the early stages, but it's good to see that these lawmakers are thinking beyond this current year and also, for their own good as a whole. Vicky.
Yeah, and the back across the pond actually to the US, and this will affect our US members. So I see a few of you on the call. Now, crypto investors who don't fill out this new tax form the right way could overpay their taxes. And this is for our US members, like I mentioned. So, cryptocurrency exchanges are moving to a new way of reporting users' profits to the IRS. And the switch could expose investors to steeper tax bill if they're not careful. A tax form that's more than 4 years in the making is finally here for the 2026 filing season. It's called the 1099-DA. The DA stands for digital assets. And crypto investors can expect to receive the form from exchanges such as Coinbase and Robinhood and pretty much everyone else that trades over there. But the form only tells half the story to the Internal Revenue Service. And that means crypto investors will have to do some legwork to avoid overpaying on their taxes. So this tax season, the form will show crypto investors and the IRS the amount of proceeds that a user received last year, but the form won't include the starting point known as the cost basis on those transactions. So if crypto investors want to avoid overpaying on their taxes, they'll have to provide the cost basis themselves. So if they can't offer those numbers, the IRS might just decide to take on extra capital gains taxes. So any of you US-based investors, please make note of that and go to your tax accountant and ask them about that because that is next tax year, 2026. So that's coming there for you.
Yep, best to be informed, and we try and share that with you all. We can't do your taxes for you, unfortunately. But that said, let's head over to the other side of the world, and boy, oh boy, it's getting more and more interesting in South Korea. You might have heard last week, and Vicky's got a follow-up on that. But the last couple of weeks, we've spoken about a few blunders. Unfortunately, Bitcoin custody is not quite the thing within the legal side and the policing side in South Korea because 22 Bitcoin with $1.5 million has vanished from Seoul police custody. Now, South Korean authorities are investigating after a 22 Bitcoin seized in a 2021 case disappeared from a cold wallet at a Seoul police station, according to local media reports. Now, the 22 Bitcoin worth around 1.5 million at the current prices was held in true style by the Gangnam police station and discovered missing during a nationwide audit of digital asset custody practices. Now, the Seoul Economic Times reported this last week, Friday. Now, authorities reportedly said that the 22 Bitcoin had been transferred externally, though the cold wallet storing the tokens was not stolen itself. Now, the investigation follows a separate case at the Gwangju District Prosecutor's Office, where 320 Bitcoin worth about 21.3 million at the current prices disappeared last year, August. The prosecutors in that case blamed a leaked password as part of a phishing attack. And again, this is all part of our security segment in this week's warm-up. These cases in South Korea are drawing scrutiny over the authorities' ability to handle confiscated Bitcoin and the safekeeping practices of digital assets. They don't know the phrase, not your keys, not your crypto, clearly, Vicky.
No, I think South Korea has a big, actually a crypto conference. I think Bitcoin 20 Forecast and Hodlnots need to go up there and do some education for them because they're in the news every week. But they are actually fighting back. So the South Korean FSS boosts AI surveillance for crypto manipulation. So South Korea's Financial Supervisory Service, which is the FSS, is upgrading its AI-powered Vista platform with additional NVIDIA H100 GPUs to strengthen real-time detection of crypto market manipulation. The move is intended to sharpen surveillance of suspicious accounts and trading anomalies as regulators intensify oversight of virtual asset markets. So the FSS obtained a budget of 170 million Korean won, which is about 117,000 US dollars, for internal service expansion this year, according to finance authorities, and it intends to use this to acquire one more H100, a high performance computing GPU from NVIDIA, by the second quarter of this year. So the H100 was released in 2022, and it's not the latest model, but it is one of the most widely used GPU for AI training. So the FSS also is reviewing the creation of an independent AI system to track real-time trends in the virtual assets market and spot anomalous transaction patterns. So for example, the AI might identify my goodness, I am very bad today, abnormalities if the price of significant virtual assets abruptly increased or decreased. So once the system is operational, it should be possible to promptly confirm whether unusual transactions were caused by technical issues at a specific exchange. So they're looking to see if they're going to have the funny transactions, but that is not going to help them if they're actually going to be losing out of their wallets. So like I said, I think they need a little bit of training from Bitcoin Trade and Forecast and Hodlnots.
Yeah, sounds like they need AI surveillance in the police stations and prosecutors' offices as well. Now, speaking about offices and heading back to Europe, specifically France, and we do have a couple of French people on the call. So you might have heard about this. Binance has confirmed that one of their employees, senior employee, actually was targeted in France by three people with a break-in. Now, three suspects were arrested in France after reported break-in targeting the home of a senior figure at Binance French units, with the company confirming to Cointelegraph that one of its employees was a victim of a home invasion. Now, why do you think I'm bringing this up? Because it ties in with one of the new themes that have been running for the last 2 years in terms of cybersecurity, and that's something called a wrench attack. And we'll get into that now a little bit more. Now, the local outlet in France, the RTL, cited anonymous police resources reported that three hooded individuals carrying weapons attempted to enter an apartment in Val-de-Marne around 7 a.m. CET on Thursday. Now, the suspects first forced their way into the apartment of another resident, demanding they direct them to the home of the head of Binance France. Now, RTL reported that the suspects searched the apartment and stole two mobile phones before fleeing. Now, 2 hours later, the three suspects were reportedly arrested during a second home invasion attempt in Hauts-de-Seine after residents alerted authorities. Now, authorities recovered the stolen phones and a vehicle that the RTL said that linked the suspects to the earlier break-in. Now, the attack occurred days after French police arrested six people over a kidnapping of a magistrate and her mother in a crypto-linked ransom attack targeting the magistrate's partner, a crypto entrepreneur. This was reported on Monday. Now, physical attacks targeting cryptocurrency investors, also known as wrench attacks, have risen over the past year. Now, wrench attacks increased by 75% during 2025 to 72 verified cases worldwide, according to cybersecurity platform CertiK. Now, France recorded the biggest number of attacks last year, with 19 confirmed incidents, while Europe accounted for about 40% of all of the attacks globally in 2025. Ladies and gents, please, we say this often, not your keys, not your crypto, of course. But other than that, please be very careful. Do not announce that you trade cryptocurrencies. Do not share passwords and everything else as well. It's very, very important. For those in France especially, be very, very careful. Vicky, back to you.
Yes, yes, please. And this story is interesting. We're going to leave the last story. It's kind of a thinker. And we all know, because if you have been on a happy hour hangout, that adoption is really key to Bitcoin and in anything rising. And CZ, who is the founder of Binance, he actually has brought up something about on-chain privacy that might be blocking crypto payment adoption. And I thought this was really interesting. So obviously CZ, who's the founder of the Binance Exchange, warned that insufficient privacy on blockchain networks remains a major barrier to widespread mainstream adoption of crypto payments. The same holds for the transparency of on-chain transactions, the executive said, making it challenging for businesses and institutions to comfortably use cryptocurrencies as routine payment options for salaries, suppliers, and other expenses. So, the idea behind Bitcoin and Ethereum is really transparency. The transactions are recorded on a public ledger, as we know, and they're accessible to everyone through wallet addresses that really can't be linked to names, but they are traceable and can be connected to individuals or companies over time. So, this openness, CZ argues, poses quite real concerns for companies. He cited a straightforward case. So, if a company pays its staff members in crypto directly on chain, anyone who visits the company's wallet address might see how much each worker receives. So, salary data really is considered private in traditional banking systems. And the same information can be made public on public blockchains, though. So, CZ also expressed concerns over personal safety. So, if everyone can instantly see how much a crypto person has or gets, they could be targeted for theft, scams, or even physical threats, as John just said. So, for A-list personalities or corporate chieftains, or really anyone, visibility can be a big issue. So, I think that's interesting because of the story that John just said. If you can go onto the blockchain, see how much people are making, see how much people are, are going there, here, there, and everywhere for payments, it's actually a very interesting concept that you might know who it is and you could target them.
Absolutely. So, ladies and
Mm.
gents, be careful. We'll perhaps
Mhm.
cover more on the story in the Hodlnots Happy Hour Hangout coming up in about a month or so. So, look out for more information on that. But we'll continue to cover such stories. But moving on from the crypto headlines, let's get into what's shaking. Is it the market? Is it people's boots? Or what's happening?
Yeah, well, the market is actually gone quite sideways, as we just heard in the previous story. So, the past week reflected the fear and greed index exactly. It's sitting around 12, and it's down slightly from last week's 14. So it hasn't really moved much, nor has the crypto market. This is going sideways. But as we know, let's see it and trade it, and let's actually see what we're going to trade in a minute. And John will show us now.
Yeah, so we spoke about this last week. We said that there were a few little things that Bitcoin needed to get past. Now, bear in mind that just looking at the Hodlnots indicator, you can see that it really needs to find support above this downwards trending line over there, which is going a little sideways. So, as mentioned last week, I said we're probably going to see a fair bit of volatility. It wasn't too mad. It went on, had a little bit of a dip, a little retrace, and managed to come up. So a little bit of sideways motion, but uh, a lot of these altcoins are not really caring too much about Bitcoin. There'll be some great hodl fire trades, coins on the day that are just superb. But in the meantime, scalp traders really making the most of it. I mean, there's coins that are, run for a little while and are in and out and grabbing profits. So at the moment, unless Bitcoin breaks up above this range, we're looking at about 71 or so. Initially wanting to see it close up above 72. But then, yeah, we got a couple of hurdles in and around 73. And then again, lines moving around, up around here. And I think once we break above the 74, 75, which was historic support that broke, which allowed actually Bitcoin to tank down to 60,000, other good support, is that, yeah, we need to see some closing for Bitcoin up here. I don't anticipate it at the moment. There's a lot of liquidity that's left the market. So even if, like we've mentioned in our stories, even if investors pile in to drive and help the bulls drive back up around this zone, it's going to be quite difficult. I kind of foresee that we're going to be down in and around this range for quite some time until we see some better metrics and stuff. But in the meantime, scalp trade is ruling. So I'm anticipating Bitcoin's going to shunt between probably not much lower than 65 in this week coming, but we're probably going to see retests in and around this area. As long as Bitcoin can hold where it currently is at about 68, 69, that'd be fantastic. But I think we're going to see a little bit of turmoil. So up and down sideways motion for the next little while. If we just have a quick look at the HODL fire indicator, make things a little clearer. We did see that super strong buy at that bottom there for 60,000. And slowly, making its way. Probably not going to see a pivot top in the next couple of days, week at least. For those of you who've hopefully bought into your coins, if again, if you guys are long-term holders and you're able to DCA in and buy in the various dips, that would have been a really good buy. Same for like the Ethereums, the Solanas, and everything else. But at the moment, yeah, we see it, we trade it. There are a few coins, as I mentioned, that are shaping up really nicely for HODL fire trades. We've got a couple couple of them on our lists, and then scalp trades as well, you know. So there is plenty of options out there, Vicky.
Yeah, it's actually all about scalping at the moment. Scalping rules. So, and where do we scalp? But in the lodge and the den. So the calls in the lodge and the den are slightly different this week. And if you're not sure, it is in the Certified Academy. So everyone that is in the lodge, please look at the Certified Academy. But just as a little rundown, so this call will be followed by our, as usual, Monday self-paced course call at 12 p.m. UTC, which is for everyone who's doing the self-paced course that is on chapters 1 to 3. And then the change does happen tomorrow. Wendy normally does some calls tomorrow, but they have been moved. So there is no lodge call tomorrow and there is no self-paced call tomorrow, but the next call we're going to have is our Hodlnots or Hodl Fire graduates call. So the 17th at 12 p.m. UTC, everyone who has graduated from the Hodl Fire course, please jump on 12 p.m. UTC because let's see if there are any Hodl Fire opportunities. There definitely were coins running, so I'm sure we'll find a couple. And actually, there's a few that were running that we pointed out last week. So hopefully we all took those trades. And then Wednesday, we do have the lodge call. So Wendy will be doing her normal lodge call on Wednesday at 7 p.m. UTC, so much different than normal. So again, if you're not sure, just look at the Certified Academy schedule. So lodge call is 7 p.m. UTC on Wednesday, which is the 18th, and that will be immediately followed by the first of our HODL dot calls. And for those who don't know what the HODL dot call is, that is a scalping challenge whereby you take $40 and turn it into $2,500 with lots of support. And every week there are two calls that you can jump on to get that support. So the first one is at 8 p.m. UTC on Wednesday. And then the self-paced call has been moved to Thursday at 4 a.m. UTC. So that's for anyone who is on any chapter. Please jump on there if you'd like some help with the material in the self-paced course. And then there's also a HODL Fire call this week. So this is a little bit different than the graduate call. Anyone and everyone who has the HODL Fire indicator can jump on this call, and that's at 6 a.m. on the 19th. So 6 a.m. UTC on the 19th. So again, anyone who has the HODL Fire, jump on. And again, we'll find some coins, I'm sure, that will be running. And then the second of the HODL dot call will be immediately following that, which is at 7 a.m. UTC. And that is Liesel this week. So it's again good to have different people doing the HODL dot call so you can hear different viewpoints about how to scalp and answer some questions. And then that will be followed by the second of our self-paced call, which is for people that are on chapters 4 onwards, and that is at 12 p.m. UTC on Thursday. And then in amongst there with all the calls on Wednesday and Friday this week, we do have a HODL Fire course on. So this is the early-ish one, depending on what time frame you're in or time zone you're in. So it starts a little bit differently than normal at 7 a.m. UTC. So on 7 a.m. UTC on Wednesday the 18th and on the 20th, which is the Friday. If you haven't done the HODL Fire course, that is one for you. And there are still spaces available, but that is happening this week. So it's actually a really busy week this week, as usual.
Absolutely. Lots of opportunities to learn how to trade, to reaffirm things and ask your questions. Of course, plenty happening within Hodlnots and Bitcoin Trader Forecasts as per usual. Now, this might be the last week of the contest, and well, just over there, but there's a little bit of a wrap up for you. Easy peasy, right? These are all the graphics we asked you over the last couple of weeks to bear in mind. So this is the last chance. Take notes because next week, Monday, the competition opens. All right. So join us then for the weekly warm up, and it'll be fastest fingers first. All right. So make those notes, and yeah, we're looking forward to that. Now, it's been worth looking forward to this week's thought, Vicky. Is it a doozy? Is it kind of one of those head scratches? What's going on?
No, it's look, with the market going sideways and, there are scalping potentials and there are HODL Fire potentials and there could be a few long-term potentials here and there. But to be honest, I have found the safest way to currently double your money is to fold it in half and put it back in your pocket.
Yeah, or even just put it in front of a mirror and it's even better. All right. Well, there we go, ladies and gents. Look after your money, look after your crypto. Be safe in this market, trade safely, and we'll catch you guys next week, Monday, for the 31st Hodlnots weekly warm up. Until then, ciao, ciao.